So if you keep up with rumors and reports about the NBA circle, then you may have passed by a report which said that the Miami Heat's 2020 finals run was a fluke. And when I first heard the report and read it, I honestly thought it was cap, because I would think that Pat Riley is way more respected than that. Eric Spoelstra also, at least their status around the league, I would think it goes unquestioned because they're proven winners, whether as coaches or in the case of Pat Riley, the general manager. But then I kind of looked at the report again and I saw that it said people around the league. It didn't just say like owners or GMs or coaches. It just said people. So it could be a combination of a lot of them. And then I started thinking, yeah, it's probably true, because I could see how a lot of people think that. Hell, a lot of fans think that. So it's not too far of a stretch to think that people in the league believe that also. And in today's video, we're going to address those rumors and talk about if the Miami Heat's 2020 finals run was a fluke. Because I know a lot of people probably think that are watching this video right now. And before we get started though, make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Y'all have been showing a lot of support to the channel and I appreciate that. Let's try to aim for at least 1,000 likes. I know you guys can do it. And also do not forget to hit that subscribe button, push the bell for post notifications. Follow me on Twitter. The links for my social media are in the description box down below. But without further ado, let's talk about the Miami Heat's 2020 playoff run and come to the conclusion on whether it was actually a fluke or not. Now, if you've been following my channel for some time, you would know I actually made a video about why the Miami Heat were legit contenders. And in that video, I talked about that when it comes to the playoffs, it's all about matchups. Because when you look at this roster, it's very obvious that this team is built with a goal in mind, and that is to complement their three stars, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and Goran Dragic. Hell, just look at the three players I just named. You have Goran Dragic, who's definitely one of the better scorers on this team. I would think he actually is the best scorer just due to his versatile skill set, but he's not that great of a defender. So you surround him with guys like Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder. They have defenders at almost every single position to make up for the lapses that Goran Dragic has. But then you have Jimmy Butler, who, as great as a scorer as he is, and he can show up in big moments with clutch threes, he's not a consistent three-point shooter. So what do? Surround him with guys that can space the floor. Goran Dragic is a great shooter. Tyler Hero, we all know how good of a shooter he is, and Duncan Robinson needs no explanation at all for his ability from behind the three-point line. And the shooters don't just stop there. There are others like Myers Leonard, who though didn't play in the playoffs, still provided some value floor spacing in the front court, and they had Jay Crowder, who was a nice 3-and-D player for them, especially in that Milwaukee Bucks series. But then you move on to Bam Adebayo, who, similar to Jimmy Butler, is not a great floor spacer, so you have to surround him with shooters. But unlike Jimmy, he's not someone who's going to be able to create his own shot consistently, so you have to be able to surround him with players that can play make for him and put him in easier positions to score the basketball, which he has in Goran Dragic, who's a pretty underrated playmaker in my opinion, and Jimmy Butler, who had a career high in assists this year and has been a consistent 5-assist guy over the last 4 seasons. And around their big three, how could I forget to mention guys like Jay Crowder, who's great on the defensive side of the ball and was an amazing three-point shooter in the second round of the playoffs versus the Bucks, like I said earlier. Tyler Hero, who's one of the best young players in the NBA, and the future looks bright for him. He had an amazing series against the Boston Celtics, and in the fourth quarter of Game 3 in the NBA Finals, he definitely showed up. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he did during that time period. And obviously Duncan Robinson, the guy is a complete sniper. As soon as he touches the ball, it's already in the basket. That's just how quick of a release that Duncan Robinson has. So when you look at this team and how they're constructed, there's no question that they are a well-constructed roster. And I don't think a lot of people deny that, but for people to say it's a fluke, just go round by round and look at the matchups that they had to face. In the first round, they faced the Indiana Pacers team, who were relying on the fact that TJ Warren had a couple of hot games in the bubble to get them by as their #1 option. And considering that Oladipo wasn't fully healthy and Sabonis was out due to an injury, I think that it was very obvious that Heat were going to beat the Pacers just based off of those factors alone. But people still believe that the Pacers could beat the Miami Heat, and the Heat swept them. so there should be no debate about how great they were versus the Pacers. But then you move on to the next series against the Milwaukee Bucks, and a lot of people actually believe that the Miami Heat matched up well against that team. You have Bam Adebayo, who's one of the better defenders in the league, who has the ability to defend the rim, not at an elite level, but he's a pretty good rim protector for his size, and he can switch on pick and rolls and can actually guard perimeter players as well as some bigs. And then you combine his play with Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, and you can definitely replicate that wall that the Toronto Raptors threw at Giannis last year in the postseason. And even looking back at that series, the only real reasons I didn't pick the Heat over the Bucks was because of the fact that, one, I believed that Giannis was the best player among both teams by a mile, and two, even though I thought the Heat had matched up well against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks schemes, I didn't think they had enough bodies, at least physically, to keep up with Giannis, as when you look at the Raptors series, they had Siakam, Ibaka, Gasol, Kawhi. Those guys are way more physically imposing than Jay Crowder, Andre Iguodala, and Jimmy Butler, along with Bam. Not saying they don't have the size, but in reality, they're just not as physical as the guys I mentioned from the Raptors last season. But regardless, the Heat were able to pull it off. They would win in 5 games, and even before Giannis went down in Game 4 due to an ankle injury, the Miami Heat were already up 3-0 and were on the verge of sweeping them. And Jimmy Butler had a 40-point performance in Game 1, followed that up in Game 3 with a 30-point bomb. And to all the people in the league that actually think that's a fluke, how is that a fluke? Because many people, including probably people in the league, thought the Heat matched up well against the Milwaukee Bucks. So if you think they match up well, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise that they were actually able to pull off the upset. And it wasn't like they won in some 7-game series that came down to the last wire in overtime or something like that. They won in 5 games. And they were up 3-0 when the reigning 2-time league MVP was in the series. So regardless of how those people want to slice it and dice it, the Heat were just as good as the Milwaukee Bucks in that series, and were obviously better because they got the job done and dispatched of them in a gentleman's sweep. But then you move on to the next round against the Boston Celtics, and despite Jayson Tatum coming off of a great series against the Toronto Raptors, he, along with many others on that team, struggled to face that Miami Heat zone. Jayson Tatum shot 41% from the field and 30% from behind the arc. Sure, he averaged 26, but his efficiency took a noticeable dip. And then you factor in that they basically fed Bam Adebayo the ball on numerous occasions because they knew that Daniel Tice couldn't handle it. And that was proven in the box score, as Bam would put up his best numbers throughout the entire postseason in that series, averaging 22 points, 11 rebounds and 5 assists, 2 steals and a block, shooting 61% from the field and 78% from the free throw line. So it is very clear that they attacked certain teams based on the matchups that were presented in front of them. That's not luck. That's not a fluke. It all simply comes down to 3 things: a great front office that built a great roster that fit well together, great coaching, and execution from the players. And if those things equal a fluke, then I guess so many runs in NBA history were fluke runs. So as far as I'm concerned, all the people out there that are hating on the Miami Heat, whether it's fans or just people in the front offices in the NBA, please spare me all the bullshit, because I can almost guarantee you a lot of them are just jealous that their team wasn't in the position that the Miami Heat were in the finals, or their team got knocked out by the Miami Heat. But let me not speculate, because that's none of my business. That concludes this video though. Let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and push the bell for post notifications. And if you want some insight on NBA news and the best articles around the league, check out Official Basketball University. The link is down below in the description box, along with my social media accounts as well. Y'all make sure you check those out. Y'all stay safe and have a great day. This is your boy Mustard signing out. Peace.